Hello, welcome to Viking Preparedness. I am Pastor Joe Fox. I used to watch this movie a lot. I had it on video. I never got it on DVD, so haven't seen it for a while. I think Heath Ledger was the star. It was called A Knight's Tale by Chaucer. And there was the story's basically about a peasant who's always going to be a peasant because his dad, his grandpa, blah, 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 were peasants. That's his lot in life. And he doesn't want to be a peasant. He wants to be a knight. And his dad told him at one point in his developmental phase, you can change your stars. And then so he goes on to become a knight, basically. You can change your stars. I was raised from as early as I can remember, knowing that I was going to be a doctor. My parents had decided I'm going to be a doctor, and that's all there is to it. And so I knew what all the good medical schools were. I knew what I had to do. I knew how long the program was, and I think a momentous moment in my life came my junior year in high school when I looked my father in the eye and said, I don't want to be a doctor. That was very hard for me to do. I still have a very strong father. That was so liberating, though, when I did that. Because, see, my stars were set. I was on the doctor path. I was going to be a doctor. We're going to have a doctor in this family. And my dad was like floored. He couldn't believe it because he knew I was going to be a doctor and I wanted to be a doctor and da-da-da-da-da. And he goes, what do you want to do? I said, I want to be a Green Beret. That's what I ended up doing. Airborne Ranger, Green Beret. That's what I wanted to be. And, I was never the big tough guy in high school and, the sports superstar, guy. I was a pretty normal, physically wise male in high school. But I wanted to be an Airborne Ranger and a Green Beret. And I set my sights on that, and that's what I did. And then, I ended up here, right? This is not the life story of Pastor Joe here. But I have constantly done different things other than what was expected, anticipated. Example, many of my peers who retired as military officers are today working in good jobs, making good money, driving Saab turbos and, wearing nice clothes to work. And, they live in their $400,000 houses and yada, yada, yada. Not me, man. Didn't want to do it. I decided what I wanted to do and I did it. And much to the chagrin, confusion, whatever, of a lot of people. You have to decide what you want, and then you need to go do it. You need to go get it. Life is short, relatively speaking. In the big scheme of things, life is just nothing. You get one shot at it, and this is a channel on motivation, right? I am motivating you to decide what stars you want and then change the stars you have for the stars you want. Go do it. It is never too late. It's easier if you figure out what you want and where you want to go when you're younger. It certainly is. It gets harder the older you get. But it's far from impossible, and only in some very limited instances. And I just saw somebody doing a video on this. Who was that? I don't remember, but here's the deal. You can derail your life at an early age or an old age or a middle age by doing some things. Like go become a felon. Your life's going to change, right, for the worse. Things like that. So you do have to make pretty good choices along the way. But generally speaking, you can have the life you want to have, but a big part of that is knowing what you want. a lot of people like the idea of things, but when it really comes down to it, they don't really want that. So they fantasize and they basically waste time thinking about what they would love to have, but then really that's not what they want, but they just never get to that point in their head. I give an example. My dog Suka just had puppies. And I like the idea of a pack of about 6, 8, 10 Ridgebacks, all well trained, right? I like that idea. But the reality of that much dog poop around, trying to scramble up that much food for those dogs, having to deal with that many different personalities and stuff, no, right? No. A dog for me, a dog for my wife, that's cool. That's kind of what we've decided to stick with, as cute as those little rascals are. And you'll see videos of them eventually. But what do you want out of life? What do you want? I just did a video for YouTube that's going to go up probably after I post this video about MGTOWs and incels. And it's like, huh, how's that related to this? It is related. It's actually what got me thinking about this. There's so many people who are generally unhappy or at least unsatisfied with where they are in life. But really, all they do is whine and moan and fret about it instead of taking real steps to change their stars, to correct it. Life is it's an action activity, right? You have to do things. Wishing that you were, able to bench press 400 pounds and run a 4-minute mile while you're sitting, in your boxers eating Doritos and bean dip and drinking another Coke or beer or whatever. You may like the idea of super you, but you ain't gonna get there if you don't go do something about it, right? You gotta go take steps. But so many people make excuses for why they can't do what they want to do or why they can't get what they want to have. And that's all it is excuses. We used to have a phrase in the military, what's the maximum effective range of an excuse? 0 meters, right? No excuses. I have a plaque from when I was on a Special Forces unit, and they said, to Joe, make it happen, Fox. Because people, I would tell them, I'd give my men commands, I'd say, hey, go do this thing, and they'd say, well, sir, yeah, this and that, and that. And I'd say, hey, go make it happen. And they always did. People will rise to the level of your expectations most of the time. You can rise to the level of your expectations if you really expect it, right? But I get the comment in various forms many times. Well, that's easy for you to say. You're lucky. You have a military pension and you live on, Shofar Mountain, and not everybody can do that. What are you really saying? I mean, let's get down to the essence of that comment. First of all, it sounds bitter and jealous to me. I'm where I am because of choices I made. Some choices I made when I was 10 years old. But you could still be something similar. It doesn't take money to do this kind of thing. Money is not the primary factor. Money, I was just talking to a brother yesterday who has several children and used to have a job making really good money, and right now he doesn't. And I don't know if he's decided to actually go pursue another high-paying job or just kind of deal with a lack of money, because he's learning the joys of sitting on his deck and watching a woodpecker and, hanging out with his kids during the day, seeing them grow up. Slower, quieter, simpler life. That's what he wants. And we were talking about how money, it's important. I mean, this world still runs on money. You need money. But one does not need nearly as much money as the world would have you believe. You just don't. I don't want to turn this into how you can get land video. I had another boss who, when I'd say, hey sir, we have a problem, he goes, we don't have a problem, you have a problem, and what are you going to do about it? I like that in retrospect. It was very frustrating as a young lieutenant when he told me that. But the bottom line is, I want you guys to become fully self-actualized, right? I want you all you Vikings, to be able to sit, stand, run, jump, wherever you are, and go, yeah, I'm doing this. My wife and I walk around probably 4 times a week. One of us will look at the other one and go, we live here. Like, this is cool, right? I want you to be able to do that. Whatever that is. You know, if you want to be a lawyer in Manhattan, you could probably do that. Unless you're about probably 60 at this point. You could probably start at 50 and make it happen. Why anyone would want to, I don't know. I was picking something outrageous. But my point is, you can pretty much do anything you want to do. And for those of you who are knee-jerk reacting to, yeah, well, I don't have any legs, so I can't run a marathon, you know, or something like that. Do you see what you're doing? You're thinking negatively. You're thinking why you can't do something instead of why you can do what you can do. And if all you do in your brain is automatically come up with reasons why you can't, then you never will. You have to look at, like, the whole thing about we have a problem, we don't have a problem, you have a problem, what are you going to do about it? When you identify a problem, a challenge, a hurdle, your brain should immediately start going into problem-solving mode. Not, oh God, there's a wall, oh, I guess we should turn around and go back. No. How are we going to get over that wall? How are we going to get through that wall? How are we going to go under that wall? How do we go around that wall? That's what you should be thinking of immediately when you identify an obstacle. Y'all are smart. Y'all are smart. Decide what you want and get it or do it. Just do it. Just do it. Nike, right? A big part of that, though, is deciding what you want. I used to give a speech, a talk, to people in the military who were halfway through their career, you know, 10 to 15 years into their career. Because what I had noticed was this: in the military, and I'm talking primarily officers, but also senior NCOs, I'd give it to them too, we are pretty good at planning. By the time you've spent 20, 30 years in the military, you can plan the heck out of something, right? I mean, it's part of the military way. We can plan. And so these guys would plan, capable of making good plans for everything, and they did. And yet, too many soldiers retiring failed to plan for their retirement. And what would happen is, and I experienced this as a retired military officer, they would just end up wherever they ended up. In the military, they move you around about every 2 to 3 years, you know, different posts, different jobs. And so, boom, you get to the one that you retire from. They would just stay there, roll over into some civilian type job that really was not fulfilling, that was okay pay. But I used to believe the lie that federal employees are overpaid until I went to work in the civilian market. And it's like, oh, boy, that's a lie. But they just end up in these dull cubicle jobs that make no difference, you know, wasting away until they die of a heart attack, you know, 10 years, 20 years later. And it's like, wow. And so the talk I would give people was, and you can take pieces of this and apply it to your own self. When you reach the point where you have culminated in the military, when you have gotten as high as you're gonna get, whether that's a rank or a job or whatever, you have to be self-aware. You have to realize, I am not getting my 3rd star, or I am not going to be a battalion commander, or I am not going to, you know, I've peaked. Everybody peaks somewhere. When you reach the point where you've peaked career-wise, your personal career goals, you need to start thinking about you. And quit chasing the good jobs in the military and start working towards your retirement. your exit. That's what you should be working on. I'm not saying retire on active duty and don't do your job, but instead of taking the really cool operations job that's going to set me up for this when you already know it's not going to set you up for that, you're not going anywhere, you should start thinking about retirement. And I tell people, I told them, I don't really hang out with those people anymore. There's 3 things you should consider, and you need to give primacy to one. You should, because when you retire from the military, you can go live anywhere, right? So big gates open up. You can go anywhere. Most people just stay where they are and ugh. You can decide on location. You know, I want to live in Podunk, Kentucky. Okay, if that's your #1 goal, that you want to live in Podunk, Kentucky when you retire, then you need to work your job in the military to get you as close to Podunk, Kentucky as possible, so you can start, you know, developing relationships and networks and things like that. So get the Army to move you close to Podunk, right? You can do that. Or a job. You know, I always wanted to do this job, or I want to do this job when I got in the military. I want to be a college professor. I want to be whatever. That's what I wanted to do at first. I wanted to be a college professor. But maybe, you know, you want to be a bus driver. You know, I don't know. Well, then quit chasing the brass ring that you already know you're not going to get, and start trying to get the Army to train you to be a bus driver, or what did I say, college professor. You know, go take an ROTC job and go work in a college or something, work on your PhD. So that's the second one. And the third one's money. I want to make as much money as I can make. And if that's the case, then what one has to do is make an honest assessment of your skill sets and experience, and decide, all right, with this package, what can I do to make the most money? And then get the Army to position you so, or I need to develop this one little bit. If I can throw that into my basket of stuff, I can make $1 bazillion. Then do that. But you have to decide, and you have to start working for it. And you have to do it early. And you have to realize when one game is ending and another game is fixing to begin. And so you have to set yourself up to be on that slide. For y'all, what do you want? Many of you, because I read it in your comments, are happy where you are. You're happy with your lot in life, your station in life, your location, and that is a good place to be, right? It's good to wake up in the morning and go, I love my life. That's what everybody should have. But many of you are not there, because I also read the comments, oh, woe is me comments. Spend some time and think about what you really want. What do you desire? And then figure out, is that what you really want, or do you just like the idea of that? Like my wife and I are planning some overseas travel. And we're working on that. And, you know, if we go, you're going with us, right? And we're planning that. And we picked a couple places where it's like, yeah, we like the idea of going there, but the reality, yeah, no, I'm not going to Africa on a bet. Right? I would like to go stay in one of those safari tents and do a cool safari, but staying in a tent in Africa, no. Nope, not me. So forget that, right? So you got to know, you know, first know thyself. I just talked about that recently. But decide what you want. Where do you want to live? How do you want to live? What do you want to do? And start working on it. Come up with a clear vision in your mind of what you want. I think it helps to write this stuff down. For me, and again, it could be the way my brain is wired, it helps me to have like my vision statement, my goal, and then, all right, to get to this goal, I've got to first accomplish these 5 things, and to accomplish these 5 things, I got to do these 2 things, and so that's kind of how my brain works. And when I write it down, I can start checking stuff off that list, and I can start focusing my activities, and everything one does should be directed at that end goal, at your main effort. Everything you do. If it's not supporting your main goal, it's a waste of your time, and you need to do something else. I've said this before, but I'll say it again because it fits in here, and I'll just make it quicker. To determine what you really want in life, because you know how I said you got to determine what you really want, take a piece of paper, I used a yellow tablet, and write down on there everything you think you need to be happy. No judgment zone. If you need a car that's less than 3 years old, write a new car on there to be happy. Go through that, write down everything, and take some time with it. It's not like I'll sit down one time and do this. You're going to have to work on this over like a week or something. But every time you think about something, I need this to be happy. Once you've think you've got that figured out. And again, you know, you can be shallow. I gotta have good hair to be happy. That's why I'm a very sad man. I'm gonna get plugs. Whatever. Okay, I'm digressing. Once you have your list down of everything you need to be happy, then go through that list and go, if I have this and only this, nothing else other than on this list, can I be happy? Well, I need food. Okay, then write food on there. Would oatmeal work? Just oatmeal every day? Well, no, okay, write what you need to be happy. Not ecstatic, but happy. I'm happy. Okay, I've got everything on here. If I only have this and nothing else, I can still be happy. Cool. Now you know what you need to be happy. Now, go back through the list and say, if I have all of this but not this, if I cross this off the list, could I still be happy? Yep. Whoosh, remove it. If I have all of this but I don't have my health, can I be happy? No. Okay, got to keep health on the list. And go all the way through your list and try and remove everything. What you're trying to do is get down to the essence of what you need to be happy. Once you have the final list, and again, this will take you a little bit of time to get to this list. This is everything I need to be happy, and this is all I need to be happy. Then you should only work to achieve that. That's when I quit my very good government job. Job for life. Great pay and benefits. Dun, 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 dun. I'm like, I don't need it. I don't need this job to be happy. And I quit. And I'm very happy right now with my life. I made choices that made people scratch their head. You're going to go live in a $300 trailer on the side of a mountain? Are you nuts? I just had granite countertops installed in my second kitchen and a steam shower put in the master bath. Yeah, I'm happy. But that's me. Again, it's not a value judgment. If you want granite countertops and a steam shower to be happy, then you got to figure out a way to get that. And I suggest you do. You can change your stars. Get out there and get busy. I'll see you out there.